Have you ever found yourself in a pet store, gazing at the endless shelves? On one side, crunchy kibble. On the other, tempting wet food. And the only question swirling in your mind is, what's truly best for my furry friend? It's an age-old debate, a true clash of titans in the pet food world. Dry versus wet. Today, we're not taking sides. Instead, we'll arm ourselves with science and facts to settle this debate once and for all. And trust me, the answer might just surprise you. To begin, let's take a quick trip back in time. Just a century ago, this kind of choice simply didn't exist. Pets primarily ate scraps from our tables, or whatever they could hunt or forage on their own. Commercial pet food itself is a 20th century invention, and dry kibble, in particular, was a game changer for convenience. It allowed pet owners to store food for long periods, portion it out with ease, and never worry about spoilage. And that's precisely when this great debate truly began. All right, let's kick things off with the most obvious point. In one corner, shining with its sheer practicality, we have dry kibble. And let's be honest, its biggest selling point is the incredible convenience it offers pet owners. You have to admit, that's a huge draw. A large bag of kibble can simply be stored in a pantry, lasting for months. No fridge needed. It won't go bad an hour after you open the bag. And the feeding process itself. It's a breeze. Morning rush. You're running late for work. But feeding your pet takes mere seconds. Grab a measuring cup, pour some crunchy kibble into the bowl, and voila. Breakfast is served. No half-eaten cans to refrigerate, no messy spoons, and no need to wash the bowl immediately after they've finished. What's more, dry kibble allows for what's known as free feeding. You can leave food in the bowl all day. This is especially convenient for cats, who naturally prefer to eat small amounts frequently throughout the day. They can simply graze whenever they feel like it. This simplicity and low-maintenance nature are the primary reasons why millions of pet owners worldwide choose dry kibble. But convenience isn't the only factor. There's a second, equally powerful argument that you've almost certainly heard. It's all about dental health. For decades, we've been told that hard, crunchy kibble is the ultimate solution for preventing tartar buildup. The reasoning seems simple enough. As your pet crunches on the kibble, its abrasive texture supposedly scrapes away plaque from the surface of their teeth, like a tiny, edible toothbrush with every meal. This claim quickly became a cornerstone of dry pet food marketing. For many pet owners, it was a deciding factor. Naturally, it promised not only healthy teeth for their beloved companion, but also significant savings on costly professional dental cleanings at the vet. The concept of food that both nourishes and takes care of dental hygiene sounds incredibly appealing. But is it really that simple? Does regular dry kibble actually work like a toothbrush? We'll delve into this intriguing question in more detail a bit later. Now let's talk about something that's on many people's minds. Money. When we compare the cost per serving of dry versus wet pet food, the result is almost always clear. Dry food is the clear winner when it comes to cost effectiveness. Thanks to its low moisture content and high concentration of nutrients, it offers significantly more value per calorie. Let's consider an example. Imagine buying a large 10-kilogram bag of dry kibble. That could easily last a single cat for several months. Now compare that to the number of cans or pouches of wet food you'd have to purchase for the same duration. The price difference would be staggering. For owners of large dogs or multiple pets, this factor often becomes the deciding one. Dry food allows you to provide your pet with high-quality nutrition without putting a serious strain on your family budget. Financially, it's a practical and sensible choice. This brings us to our next crucial point. Dry kibble is, at its core, a concentrated energy source. Imagine it as food with nearly all the moisture extracted. What remains are only the most nutritious components: proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and vitamins. This is precisely why a small volume of dry food contains significantly more calories than an equivalent serving of wet food. A single handful of crunchy kibble can pack as much energy as an entire pouch of wet food. This offers a tremendous advantage for active animals that move a lot and burn significant calories, such as working dogs or outdoor cats. It's also highly beneficial for pets with poor appetites, often called picky eaters. Even a small meal provides them with the essential energy they need. However, this high caloric density also has a significant downside. It's incredibly easy to overfeed your pet with dry food, especially if they lead a sedentary lifestyle. Just a few extra kibble pieces each day can quickly lead to unnoticed weight gain on the scales, which in turn can result in obesity and a host of health problems. But now let's look at the flip side. Because that high concentration and convenience come with a very serious drawback, and this is arguably the most significant argument from those who oppose dry kibble: low moisture content. Dry food contains only about 10% water. That's extremely low. Let's consider their biology. The ancestors of our cats were desert animals. Their bodies evolved to get most of their required hydration, not from drinking, but directly from their prey. They naturally have a relatively weak thirst drive. Dogs tend to drink more readily, but even their natural diet consists of moist foods. When a pet eats only dry kibble, they must compensate for the lack of moisture by drinking a significant amount of water. But do they actually do this? Not always. As a result, the animal's body often exists in a state of constant mild dehydration. This places an immense strain on their kidneys and the entire urinary system. Urine becomes more concentrated, which dramatically increases the risk of crystal and stone formation. And this isn't just theory. It's a harsh reality seen in veterinary clinics every day. Let's take a closer look at what actually goes into these crunchy kibbles. How are they made? To transform meat meal, fats and grains into a solid, stable pellet that doesn't crumble, binding agents are essential. And more often than not, carbohydrates play this crucial role. Starch, found abundantly in grains like corn, wheat or rice, effectively glues all the ingredients together during the extrusion process. As a result, many dry pet foods, particularly the more affordable ones, can have a very high carbohydrate content. Sometimes it reaches 40 or even 50%. Now, let's consider who our pets truly are. They are predators, either obligate or facultative. Their digestive systems are designed to process animal protein and fats. A high amount of carbohydrates, however, represents an unnatural and excessive burden on their bodies. This can lead to excess weight gain, digestive issues, and even become a significant risk factor for developing diabetes, especially in cats. And now, let's shift our focus to the other contender in the ring. Here we find the fragrant, succulent, and highly appealing wet pet food. Its primary, undeniable advantage is quite literally in the name: moisture. Wet foods typically contain between 70 and 85% water. This moisture content closely mimics that of a predator's natural prey, like a mouse or a bird. When your pet enjoys this type of food, they're not just eating, they're also hydrating. Their body receives essential fluids in the most natural and biologically appropriate way. This is absolutely crucial for maintaining healthy kidneys and an optimal urinary system. For cats, whose natural thirst drive is notoriously low, wet food isn't just a meal. It's a critical preventative measure against common and dangerous conditions like urinary tract disease, kidney stones, and chronic kidney disease. Adequate fluid intake helps keep their urine diluted, significantly reducing the risk of crystal and stone formation. This is a perfect example of how the form of your pet's diet directly impacts their long-term health and well-being. Think about yourself for a moment. What would you find more appealing? A dry, tasteless cracker, or a succulent piece of meat with a fragrant sauce? The answer is pretty obvious, right? It's exactly the same for animals, only their sense of smell is many times more powerful than ours. Wet food offers a much more pronounced, richer, meaty aroma and an appealing texture. For fussy pets who turn their noses up at almost any food, canned options or pouches are a real lifesaver. Warmed to room temperature, the aroma becomes even more intense and can tempt even the most finicky eater. It's also an essential option for senior animals, whose sense of smell and appetite can decline with age. And it's perfect for pets who are unwell and refusing to eat. In these situations, wet food often helps them regain interest in eating and provides the essential nutrients they need for recovery. Its soft consistency is also ideal for animals with dental or gum issues who find it painful to chew hard kibble. Let's revisit the ingredients once more. When we examine high-quality wet food, its formula often aligns much more closely with a predator's natural diet than dry kibble does. Open a can of premium wet food and you'll frequently discover actual chunks of meat or fish nestled in a rich gravy or a delicious jelly. The production process for wet food doesn't demand the same high levels of carbohydrates for binding that dry food does. Consequently, meat ingredients rightly take precedence on the ingredient list. On a dry matter basis, wet foods typically boast higher protein levels and lower carbohydrate content. This makes it a much more biologically appropriate food, especially for cats who are obligate carnivores. Their bodies are perfectly adapted to derive energy from proteins and fats, rather than carbohydrates. Therefore, a diet built around high-quality wet food helps maintain healthy muscle mass and prevents the accumulation of excess fat, which is often a consequence of too many carbohydrates. Wet food isn't just a treat. For some animals, it's a critical component of their health. Imagine a cat diagnosed with chronic kidney disease or urinary tract disease. For them, consuming as much fluid as possible is paramount. This helps reduce the strain on their compromised kidneys and flushes out the urinary tract, preventing new crystals from forming. In such cases, veterinarians almost always recommend transitioning the animal to a wet food diet. Getting a cat with these conditions to drink enough water from a bowl is notoriously difficult. Wet food naturally solves this problem. The same goes for animals with diabetes. A low-carbohydrate diet, which is easier to achieve with wet food, helps control blood sugar levels. Wet food is also a lifesaver for animals suffering from constipation. The added moisture in their diet helps soften stools and improve bowel motility. In these and many other scenarios, choosing wet food isn't a matter of preference, it's a direct medical necessity. But as with all good things, there's a cost, and wet pet food perfectly illustrates this. Let's be honest, it's an expensive indulgence. When you break down the cost per calorie, wet food is almost always several times pricier than dry kibble. Why is this the case? For starters, you're essentially paying for water. Up to 85% of a can or pouch can be moisture. Secondly, the packaging itself, whether it's a metal can or a laminated pouch, costs more to produce than a simple paper bag for dry food. On top of that, the manufacturing and preservation processes are also more expensive. Consequently, if you decide to feed your pet an exclusive wet food diet, be prepared for significantly higher overall pet care costs. For owners of large breeds such as a Great Dane, this diet can become a substantial expense in the family budget. This high price point often deters owners from making a full transition to wet food, even when they understand its advantages. Unlike its dry counterpart, wet food is a bit more demanding. Convenience definitely takes a back seat here. The moment you open a can or pouch, a countdown begins. Leaving this type of food in a bowl all day, especially in warm weather, is absolutely out of the question. It quickly dries out, loses its appeal, and, most dangerously, becomes a breeding ground for harmful bacteria. This means any uneaten food must be immediately refrigerated. Make sure to seal the can tightly with its lid or transfer the contents to an airtight container. Before the next feeding, it's a good idea to warm it slightly to enhance its aroma. All of this requires discipline and extra effort from the pet owner. Forget to clear the bowl? You risk your pet developing an upset stomach, ran out of food in the can. You'll need to open a fresh one, unlike just refilling from a bag of kibble. For people with very busy schedules, or those who frequently travel and leave their pet alone for extended periods, these complexities can be a significant deterrent, making the easier-to-manage dry food a far more appealing option. And let's not forget about the mess. Feeding wet food is rarely a clean process. Chunks in gravy or pâté easily spread across the bowl, onto the surrounding floor, and even onto your pet's whiskers and muzzle. This is especially true for breeds with long facial fur, like a Persian cat. After every meal, you often find yourself not only washing the bowl, but also wiping the floor around it and even cleaning your pet's face. While some might consider this a minor inconvenience, for many owners who value cleanliness and order, it quickly becomes a tiresome daily chore. Furthermore, the distinct smell of wet food, which animals find so appealing, isn't always pleasant for humans. It can be quite strong and pervasive. Compare this to the virtually neutral scent of dry food. The difference is stark. So, when opting for wet food, be prepared for a bit of regular, creative chaos in your kitchen. And now, it's time for some myth busting. Let's revisit one of the main myths we touched upon at the very beginning. The idea that dry kibble cleans teeth. It sounds logical, right? But is that really the case? The answer, unfortunately, is almost always no. Imagine eating a crunchy cookie or cracker. Does it clean your teeth? Quite the opposite. Crumbs often get stuck between them. The same principle largely applies to regular dry pet food. Most cats and dogs don't thoroughly chew each piece of kibble. They either swallow it whole or break it into a few pieces with a couple of bites. The kibble simply doesn't have enough contact time to scrub the tooth surface, particularly near the gum line where most plaque builds up. The only real exceptions are specialised veterinary dental diets. These have uniquely designed, often larger and more porous kibble. Pets are forced to really chew them, and the kibble, acting like a sponge, genuinely helps scrape away plaque. But regular, everyday dry food simply doesn't work this way. Therefore, relying on ordinary kibble to protect your pet from tartar buildup is sadly just wishful thinking. Now let's tackle the second popular myth, this time concerning wet pet food. You often hear people say, "Why pay for water? It's just an expensive indulgence that only makes your pet gain weight." At first glance, that sounds convincing, especially since canned food does contain a lot of water. However, that's a very superficial way of looking at it. First, as we've already discussed, this expensive water is actually vital for kidney health and preventing urinary tract issues like bladder stones. It's not just filler, it's a crucial functional component. Second, regarding weight gain, here's where it gets even more interesting. It's actually the exact opposite. Because of its high volume and moisture content, wet food helps your pet feel full and satisfied while consuming significantly fewer calories. Consider this. 100 grams of wet food might contain only 80 calories, while the same amount of dry food can pack as many as 400. This is precisely why veterinary weight loss diets are most often formulated in wet form. They allow pets to feel satiated without over-consuming calories. So, the myth that wet food causes weight gain, it's just that, a myth, completely unsupported by any scientific evidence. So, after exploring all the pros and cons, weighing the arguments, and debunking common myths, it seems we've reached an impasse. On one side, we have the convenient, yet potentially dehydrating, dry kibble. On the other, the beneficial, but often expensive and messy, wet food. It might seem like a perfect solution simply doesn't exist. But what if I told you that you don't have to choose at all? What if there's a way to combine the best of both worlds, creating an ideal diet for your pet? This is where a third, and arguably the wisest, approach enters the picture: mixed feeding. This strategy is quickly becoming the gold standard for many experienced pet owners and progressive veterinarians. The concept is brilliantly simple. The foundation of your pet's diet consists of high-quality dry kibble. This can be left in the bowl for free access, allowing your pet to graze whenever they're hungry. Then, once or twice a day, for example, in the morning and evening, you treat them to a delightful little feast, a portion of delicious aromatic wet food. In this way, you kill two birds with one stone. You maintain the convenience and cost-effectiveness of dry kibble, while simultaneously providing your pet with essential hydration and exciting flavour variety through wet food. It's the perfect balance that contributes to your pet's health and gives you complete peace of mind. It's crucial to understand that cats and dogs are fundamentally different when it comes to their dietary needs. Their nutritional requirements differ drastically, directly influencing their food choices. Cats, for instance, are obligate carnivores, strict predators by nature. This means their bodies don't just prefer, but absolutely require animal protein to thrive. Many essential amino acids, like taurine, can only be obtained from meat sources. Their digestive systems are also poorly equipped to process carbohydrates effectively. This is why wet food with its high moisture and protein content is often considered an ideal choice for felines, especially given their natural predisposition to kidney disease. For cats, a mixed diet of wet and dry, or exclusively wet food, is almost always the superior option. Dogs, on the other hand, are facultative carnivores, or what some scientists describe as omnivores with a predatory leaning. Over thousands of years of living alongside humans, their digestive systems have adapted to process a certain amount of plant matter and carbohydrates. Consequently, dogs tolerate dry kibble with a moderate grain content much better than cats. While meat should still form the foundation of their diet, their nutritional requirements are not quite as stringent. And this brings us to the most crucial point. More important than whether it's dry or wet food, there's only one thing that truly matters: the ingredients. You could buy the most expensive, heavily advertised wet food, but if it's packed with low-quality byproducts, artificial colours, and flavour enhancers, it won't offer much nutritional value. Conversely, a high-quality dry kibble from a reputable manufacturer, one where dehydrated meat is the primary ingredient, not corn, can be an excellent choice. A pet owner's real power isn't in blindly trusting advertising. It's in the ability to decipher the label. Learn to truly understand the ingredients. The first ingredient listed should always be a clear source of animal protein, such as dehydrated chicken, fresh salmon, or lamb meal. Avoid vague terms like meat and animal derivatives, or simply cereals appearing as the top ingredient. Pay close attention to the guaranteed analysis, the percentages of protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Look for foods with a clear, transparent ingredient list, enriched with beneficial nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, essential vitamins, and minerals. Because it's right there in the fine print on the back of the package that the true quality of the product is revealed. It's crucial to remember that your pet's nutritional needs evolve throughout their life. What's perfect for a playful kitten or puppy is completely unsuitable for a calm, senior animal. Young pets like puppies and kittens require food high in protein, fats and calories to fuel their rapid growth and development. They also need calcium for strong bones and DHA for brain development. Active adult animals, on the other hand, need a balanced diet to maintain their energy levels and muscle mass. However, for senior pets, whose metabolism naturally slows and activity decreases, a lower calorie food is essential to prevent unhealthy weight gain. Additionally, their diet should include joint-supporting ingredients like chondroitin and glucosamine, along with antioxidants to help slow the aging process. Therefore, choosing the right food should always be specific to your pet's age and life stage. It's no coincidence that manufacturers create specialized product lines like for kittens, for adult cats, or for senior dogs. These aren't just marketing tactics. They reflect a genuine understanding of a pet's physiological needs. And finally, the most crucial point. When it comes to pet food, there's only one expert whose advice you should trust implicitly. That's not a popular blogger, a pet store consultant, or even the food manufacturer themselves. It's your veterinarian. Only your vet understands your pet's complete health picture. They see test results, know about any chronic conditions or predispositions. Perhaps your cat has a hidden kidney issue and dry kibble could be absolutely detrimental. Or your dog might have a chicken allergy requiring a specialized diet. Before making any final decisions about your pet's diet, always consult with your veterinarian. They can help you choose not just a good food, but the optimal one for your unique companion, considering all their individual needs. This invaluable advice can save you not only money, but also protect your beloved pet's health. And now, for the big reveal, the scientific answer we promised you. After weighing all the pros and cons, debunking myths, and sifting through facts, it might feel like we've only gotten more confused. But actually, we've arrived at a surprisingly simple conclusion. Ready? The biggest misconception in the dry versus wet food debate is the debate itself. Here's the twist. Science and modern pet nutrition tell us that the form of the food, whether dry or wet, is secondary. What truly comes first is the quality of ingredients and a balanced nutritional profile. A high-quality dry food with the right composition will be 1,000 times better than cheap canned food full of byproducts and jelly. Conversely, a complete and balanced wet food, rich in meat, will provide more benefits than dry kibble packed with grains and artificial colours. The real enemy isn't moisture or its absence. The real enemy is a low-quality, unbalanced formulation. The debate shouldn't be about the form, but about the content. So what's the takeaway? There's no universal best food. The best food is the one that's right for your specific pet, considering their age, breed, health condition, and even personal preferences. Often, the ideal solution is a combination of both types. For example, dry kibble can serve as the foundation of their diet, with wet food as a tasty and beneficial supplement for hydration. Thanks for sticking with us to the end of this video. I hope that choosing pet food will now be a more informed and straightforward process for you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future breakdowns. And now, a question for you. What kind of food do you feed your pet? And why did you make that choice? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's discuss.